Hi, I'm James Kluh. I'll be dissecting the meal that I had with my family this year for our springtime holiday, tracing the ingredients through space and time to answer the central question of what year was it first possible for these ingredients to be used together for a meal in North America. What we ate was ham with brown sugar glaze, Delmonico potatoes, which I've always been told were Abraham Lincoln's favorite. We're going to find out if that was plausible or not. And green beans seasoned with salt, pepper, and butter. The most effective way that I found to group these ingredients was not by their own dish, but between three groups: animal products, fruits and vegetables, and spices and sugars. So for animal products, you can't have animal products until you have domesticated animals. So all these, what, ham, milk, whipping cream, cheese, butter, all that comes from pigs or cows. And the domestication of plants and animals was a gateway, I feel, for humanity to evolve. The first domestication of cows, according to a journal published by the University of Texas, was said to have happened in the ninth millennium in Southwest Asia. But there's also evidence that suggests the folks at good old Göbekli, near what is now Turkey, were raising cattle a millennium before then. It wasn't until the Columbian exchange, however, that domesticated cattle, along with pigs, chickens, horses, etc., you name it, were brought to North America. So that means the baseline date that we're working with is now 1624, when the first recorded cows were brought over to Plymouth Colony. For fruits and vegetables, every single one of the fruits and vegetables present in this meal were native to the New World, right? We didn't have it until, well, I guess we should say Europeans didn't have it until they showed up to the New World. Most of them certainly were in Central or South America. Potatoes, green beans, originally found in Peru. Potatoes were about 8,000 years ago, although the modern potatoes that we know and love today, after generations of hybrid breeding and cross-contaminating, came to be around the 1840s. Unfortunately, because history was written by the colonizers, we don't really have much in the way for written concrete paperwork that says when corn was first domesticated. But we do know that by the time Europeans showed up to the New World, that the Native Americans had it pretty down pat. This was not their first rodeo growing corn. They knew how to rotate crops and keep the soil fertile and everything. They were cross-contaminating and hybrid breeding. They had it down pat. Funnily enough, though, while corn was there and cornstarch was definitely present, it wasn't used for cooking until around the 1850s. They used it to stiffen up laundry in that way. While there are plenty of other thickening agents that I'm sure were being used, for the sake of this assignment, we'll say that it has to be cornstarch, and our new baseline date for this meal is the somewhere around the 1850s. So we're moving on to spices and sugars. These are all the spices used, including brown sugar. Mustard is one of the oldest of the old, right? You can tell by its biblical reference, it's been around for a while. It's said to be one of the earliest known domesticated plants, found back in ancient Egypt. It was so effective in growing, in fact, that it became one of the first invasive species for California around the 1700s. So it's growing everywhere there now, but it was not native to North America. Salt, another really old biblically referenced spice, is present in nearly every culture, which kind of makes sense because we eat meat, and if you've ever had to eat meat without salt, you would understand why humans wanted to figure out how to cultivate it. It was noted that Native Americans were harvesting salt by boiling brine and seawater to harvest it. Brown sugar came to be from all the sugar plantations in the Caribbean. right? A product of the slave trade. Um, and it was a cheaper alternative to just plain pure white sugar because it was just white sugar and they would cut it with molasses. And molasses was cheaper than white sugar. Where are we at? While the spice trade brought nutmeg, pepper, and ginger from South Asia, paprika, I was interested to find out, was native to North America. We use paprika in like everything, deviled eggs, you name it. So the conclusion that I came up with was that this meal on this continent with these ingredients and cooked in this way was not possible to happen until about the 1850s. So, plausible, right? Abe Lincoln could have very well enjoyed this meal. He was president, 1860 something. So, Delmonico potatoes could have been his favorite. Um, I threw this image in the slide. It's one that everybody has seen a million times. If you've taken a history class, you've seen this picture. Um, but it's one of my favorites. It's a really great perspective on just how much stuff was exchanged between the New World and the Old. I think this one left out diseases and stuff, but diseases were a big part of this as well. Um, but another key takeaway that I gained from this assignment was perspective. It's really easy for me to keep history kind of compartmentalized in my brain, and tying concrete timelines to everyday items like food really helps to better understand the shift towards a more global economy in this time. Another crazy thing for me specifically is one of my hobbies is collecting, restoring, and using antique tools. Um, a lot of these tools that I find at antique shops and restore are were manufactured in the late 1800s. So I do a lot of time doing my own research, looking at tool companies when they were around, qualities of different steel through different um, portions of time, whether it's pre-war or whatever, and traditional methods of woodworking. So I take those tangible things, right, the tools, techniques that I can use, and then looking at these same time periods, but in a totally different light about cornstarch. Like just tying those two things together kind of was a little bit mind bending, but it gave me a much better perspective than I think I gained from taking just about any other history class. So this was great. I had a good time doing this assignment. Thank you for listening.